Strong opinions tonight from Cincinnati's new police chief on the use of tasers.
The death of 18-year-old Everett Howard after University of Cincinnati officers tased him in August prompted our I-team to take a closer look at the safety of the devices. 9 News anchor Julie O'Neill joins us now with how the Tri-State's biggest police agency is using them. Julie?
Tanya and Clyde, our continuing I-team investigation reveals use of the taser has actually fallen dramatically in the city of Cincinnati in recent years. 524 uses back in 2005, just a little more than half that many last year. Good, says Chief Craig, who says he's currently reviewing the department's policy on the taser, a weapon he says should be taken seriously. This infamous video from 2003 thrusts the Queen City into the national spotlight. Cincinnati police officers trying to subdue Nathaniel Jones strike him repeatedly with their batons. He dies, and that in part inspires a change in the way police use force here. The department decides to put a taser in the hands of every officer, a device that shoots barbs into a subject, sending electricity into the body to incapacitate. This way, police can cuff a subject without a fight and avoid scenarios like this. And the taser delivers results. Over the next 4 years, Cincinnati officer injuries down 56%, suspect injuries down 35%, and force complaints down 50%.
If tasers are used appropriately and there are policies in place, it can save lives, it can reduce injuries on suspects, it can reduce injuries to officers. So there are benefits.
Cincinnati's new police chief, James Craig, introduced tasers to Portland, Maine just 2 years ago as chief there. He's a fan, but believes tasers should be taken more seriously than they have been.
Taser, taser, taser.
You've seen video of officers getting tased as part of training, something once encouraged in Cincinnati. Chief Craig did not permit officers in Portland to be tased.
Because it's not a toy. It's a force device that's used to overcome resistance, aggressive resistance.
Note the chief uses the word aggressive.
If an officer is using a taser, deploying a taser, to say, to use it because someone is mouthing off, contempt of cop is what we call it in the industry.
Or even refusing to get in the car, won't be handcuffed.
That would not be appropriate. That could be viewed as an excessive use of force. But we're talking about someone who is not passively resisting, but someone who's aggressively resisting, who's posing a threat to the safety of the officer, to his partner, or some community member. 9 News reviewed Cincinnati Police taser use of force records over the past 6 years and found the vast majority did comply with policy. In some cases where tasers were used, though, subjects refused to obey officers' orders but might not have necessarily behaved aggressively. Cincinnati police policy also directs officers to avoid tasing people repeatedly or for long periods of time, after research done by a national agency that advises police showed those uses of tasers appear to increase the risk of death or serious injury. Still, Taser International contends there's no definitive proof tasers affect the heart, as its CEO recently told me. Do you recognize that in rare circumstances that the taser can affect the heart?
There's no evidence that supports that it affects the heart in humans. There is evidence that it has happened in pigs.
We don't know. I don't want my officers deploying taser in a prolonged way because we don't know.
But our research shows in Cincinnati, subjects have continued to get tased in the chest, even since Taser warned in October of 2009 to avoid the chest when possible. In 2005, of the 524 Taser shots in Cincinnati, officers hit the chest area roughly 21% of the time. Shots to the chest declined in 06 and 07 to around 16%. In 08, the number rose up to 19%. In 09, of 323 shots, 15% hit the chest. Last year, 19% hit the chest, and this year, through September, of the 212 Taser shots, nearly 20% hit the chest. Chief Craig points to the delicate balance between protecting subjects and police.
I mean, any force used that a police officer has to use is risky.
On the other hand, the chief does not want undue risk. After seeing our recent I-Team report, he's curious about testing that's been done on tasers across Canada, in which some weapons were found to be both over and underpowered. Some pulled after failing. Independent testing by the CBC found some weapons were 50% overpowered. Taser International disputed those results. It was the death of this man following a tasing in Vancouver that led to mandatory testing of tasers in Canada. Testing is not required in the U.S.
If weapons are overpowered, they're sending more current into a subject. If they're underpowered, they're not sending enough.
We would want to know that. Every law enforcement executive wants to know that if this is what we are told, that the device is going to emit 50,000 volts, I want to know that. I want to know that it's not going to be more or going to be less.
The chief says taser use is down, at least in part because often officers just have to show one to get a subject to comply. We want to be clear, the death of Everett Howard involved University of Cincinnati police. UC police will not comment on the case or anything to do with